Now we got sound. How you guys doing? Good to see you all. My name's Asia. I'll be moderating the panel tonight and kind of poking at all our friends here. They're all my friends now. We hung out all day, so. And we're really excited to just be here with you and to get some wisdom from each of these women up here and kind of hear about their process, how they got to where they are, what little shortcuts they took, what things were helpful, who ushered them in, who held the door open, and kind of learn a little bit more about them and their process. So that's what we're gonna do. First, can I start with you, Morgan? Will you give me the quick snippet of who Morgan is? Go.
Hi everybody, thank you Asia. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting all of us, and I'm really happy to be here. My name is Morgan James, and I moved to New York City when I was 18 to go to the Juilliard School, where I studied music, and I wanted to be on Broadway, and I thought that the minute I graduated I would just immediately go into a Broadway show, and that did not happen. It was a lot harder, so I had a circuitous path. I finally did make it on Broadway. I did 5 original shows on Broadway. And when I was doing my last Broadway show, which was Motown the Musical, I met Berry Gordy Jr., who became my mentor, and he got me a record deal, and I started making records. So now I make a record every year, whether you want me to or not. And I tour full time all over the world, making music. So that's the Cliff's Notes version of my 26 years in New York.
We love it. Make some noise.
Hey, my name is Divinity Rocks. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I am a multi-hyphenate artist, composer, producer, author, voiceover artist. I do a producer, a bass player. Most people know me as the bass player and former musical director for Beyonce. Before touring with Beyonce, I toured with Victor Wooten, who was an incredible bass player for 5 years. And yeah, right now I started making kids music during the pandemic. I'm 2 times Grammy nominated musician and artist, and I'm also a trustee for the Recording Academy.
Do you do taxes too, Vinny, or if you're doing mine?
I do my taxes.
Yeah.
Hello, oh here we are. Hi, my name is Miette Hope, and I am an artist, songwriter, producer. I grew up in Colorado and went to school at Berklee College of Music in Boston, and then started coming over to New York and really fell in love with it, and moved over here right after school in 2018, and yeah, I've just been doing music full time in New York ever since then, and kind of spreading out my time evenly between a lot of different creative endeavors in music, and I also teach, and I love teaching and uplifting students. Yeah, happy to be here.
And my name is Asia, and I'm also a songwriter, similar to all y'all. I'm also a songwriter, producer, and a pianist, and I'm also a mom, and I tour, and you know, just doing the thing. All right, so let's get started. Let's just jump right in. I wanted to start with, so secretly, I always just, whenever we do panels like this, I'm just like asking questions that I want to know the answer to, because I'm like, how are you doing it? So let's start with, what do you feel is like your special sauce? Like what people come to you for specifically? Because everybody, you know, we all sing, we all do music, but like when somebody's like, oh, I know exactly who to call, they call you for this thing. What is that, Morgan?
I think that I'm known for being a live performer. I kind of loudly always proclaim that, you know, I don't use any tuning or auto-tuning or Melodyne or any vocal editing like that on any of my recordings. So I'm kind of an old school type of singer. So I think people come to me for an old school type of sound, and I have a big range. I think people come to hear, somebody sing live the way, people used to sing live. I think that's what people come to hear me sing. And the stamina, I think that I just kind of have an old school kind of mentality in terms of my live shows and my recordings. I think so. I don't know. I guess I've never asked anybody.
It's okay.
Why are you here? Why
It's
do you
okay
like
to like own that is the thing. That's your sauce. That's your special sauce. What about you, Divinity?
Wow, my special sauce is that I am a badass MF at whatever it is that I am doing, and people know that when I come in the room, I'm gonna come in the room prepared. I'm gonna come in with a great attitude. I'm gonna be fun. I'm gonna smile. I'm gonna be nice to people. I'm gonna be cool to be around. I'm gonna be collaborative. And people come to me for a lot of different things. So if you call me to play bass, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna show out on stage, and it's gonna be funky, and we're gonna have a lot of fun. If you call me to produce something, you know that I'm gonna be extremely serious about it, and I'm gonna be in my producer head, and I'm gonna serve the song, because I really believe that's important. I think people call me because I'm passionate about what it is that I do, and that I exude love in what I do, and I love music, and I love people, and I love connecting with people, and I think all of that it contributes to what my special sauce is.
That's a special meal. How about you, Mia?
I think my special sauce, these days I really just love being in the studio. I have a home studio, and I'm having artists come over and working on their music, working on my music. I'm getting called to, compose songs for commercials and film and TV. And I think for me, I always want to try to bring something to the table that hasn't been heard before. I think a lot of music can be derivative, and people come in with like a reference track and they're like, can we make something like this? And I'm like, cool, that bass line is dope, that tempo is dope, let's take that and then let's do our own thing. And I always am really inspired when I hear music that feels new, and I think that's hard to do because a lot of music has been done. But yeah, I think for me, I'm always like bending genres. I'm like, you're coming in with a, Bon Iver song, let's add some like hip hop drums to it, or let's add some weird synths, let's reverse that vocal line, kind of just taking something and spinning it on its head and seeing how we can make it new is kind of my special sauce.
I love it. All right, so I want to talk about who sort of led the way for you in your career personally. Like, who has been an instrumental person in your career and kind of held the door open for you? Like a specific time that you remember somebody, and extra points if it was a woman, but if it wasn't a woman, that's okay too. Where somebody really like went out of their way to include you and show you the ropes and kind of usher you in a way that meant something to you.
I love this question because I don't like when people gatekeep and try to keep the secrets from other people that are coming out, because we all just moved to LA or New York or Nashville, wherever we're gonna move, and we're all trying to figure it out, and we have to have those people that come along that everything from here's how you get a good serving job that you're gonna need, here's where you're gonna get club dates or how to do auditions or anything like that. You have to help the people that are coming up behind you. I just don't believe in going, well, it was hard for me, so it should be hard for you. And so thankfully so many people helped me along the way. I have had lots of different turns in my career because I didn't know that I was gonna be making albums when I first moved to New York. But the biggest is obviously Berry Gordy was instrumental in helping me and saw me in a time when other people didn't, and encouraged me to write songs and create records. There have been people that have opened little mini doors like Prince and Tyler Perry and Spike Lee and all sorts of people that have seen me in these little moments that other people didn't. And sometimes it takes a big name to see you and help you, and sometimes it's just somebody else that helps you get in a door that you needed to go in. going to, but we all need that. Nobody gets anywhere without somebody helping them and seeing them for who they are and saying, you know what, this will make it easier. And so we have to help other people coming out behind us, especially women.
It's beautiful. You know, I love that you said that there are lots of people, because there will be lots of people in your career. I don't know how many of you are in school and you're just getting your feet wet in this industry, but like there will be lots of people along the way to help, and there will be people who don't want to help, but you want to stick with the people who want to help. I would say one of the when I was about, so I started writing raps when I was about 13, right? So I started writing my own raps. When I was about 15, I had this manager. Her name was Stephanie Ramsey. She worked, and I don't talk about Stephanie enough. She worked for Warner Electric and Atlantic as a radio promotions person. This is somebody who goes to the radio stations, pitches records. She was breaking records by Tupac, and she was breaking records by Seal, because she worked at Warner. And she really taught me about that side of the music industry at 15. We would go to this conference called Jack the Rapper. Anybody ever heard of Jack the Rapper? Jack the Rapper was a radio personality. Like in the maybe late 70s, early 80s, he became very popular, and he started having this big conference, and all the rappers and all the R&B artists would come to Atlanta at this hotel, and they would have conferences and they would have performances. I saw Prince perform in a ballroom with just a white grand piano, standing room only, when I was like 16 years old. I was meeting all these record industry people. She would take me to the one stops, and this is when you had, real product. Now we're talking digital. I'm talking about product, and this product generated a lot of money, and so she would just teach me about these things, and I needed that, and I didn't know how much I needed it and how much I was learning about the music industry, because I think that's so important. We get into this thing because we love it, we want to perform, we're talented, all this, and we want to just do it, but we don't know anything about the business and how it works and how many different people it takes to make a record popular or to break a record. I don't even know if people talk like that anymore. Do we still break records, right? And we don't break them the same way. So she taught that to me at a very early age. And I'm just gonna name one other person. I wanted to name her because she was the first woman to come into my life and teach me about how money moved in the music industry. And then there was Victor Wooten. I went to Victor Wooten's bass camp. I had been playing the bass for about 3 years. And I had taught myself how to rap and play the bass, because I had never really seen anybody do that before. And like I said, I was a rapper, right? But I picked up the bass, I fell in love with the bass. I dropped out of UC Berkeley, where I was gonna be a journalist, to be a bass player and telling my parents I was gonna be an artist now. And whatever, so that's what I did. Taught myself how to rap and play, and Victor was having a bass camp. I applied to his bass camp, I got in. The very first day we have to introduce ourselves by playing something. I was not a great bass player, but I did know how to rap and play bass, so that's what I did. And he called me a month after the camp and asked me if I wanted to go on tour with him. And if I wanted to open up his show. He asked me, he said, do you have more songs like that? I said, yeah, man, I got a lot of songs like that. Shoot, what you say? I only had one song that I had learned how to do that, right? But when I hung up with him, I was scared out of my mind because I needed to go write some more songs, rapping and playing the bass. But he took me on tour. He took me under his wing. I got to sit under the master every single night and watch him go out and mesmerize crowds. I got to live on the bus with him and his brothers and be in that element, and it just elevated me. He was a giant who allowed me, this little girl who just had one song, to stand on his shoulders, and he opened up the whole world to me in such a way that I can never repay him for. So, yeah.
It's huge.
So I have 3 people that came to mind, but I'm gonna do it backwards. So I'll do the most recent and then the most early. The most recent person that I can think of who is a woman, and she is amazing mover and shaker and person to know as a woman in music is Ebony Smith. You guys probably know her. Yeah, I was wondering, I was like, I think you're connected with Ebony. She's mixing engineer, producer, businesswoman extraordinaire, and she really put me on. She runs an organization called Gender Amplified, and it's about bringing women and non-binary producers together and uplifting them. And they do writing camps where they bring all of these different collaborators together. And she invited me in, and you know, I've been an artist for a long time. I've only been producing since 2020, and that is the second part of the mentor thing, but I'll get to that. So yeah, she invited me to the camp, and I really just like being in those camps and being around other female producers. One, just like seeing it created such a safe space where like nothing was gatekept, and I felt like in my career when I was like trying to learn from a lot of male producers that I was working with, like, oh, what's that plugin you're using? Like, how are you EQing that instrument? They would just be like, oh, like, you know, I'm just like, you know, they wouldn't actually like explain it because maybe they thought that I wouldn't understand, or maybe they just didn't want to share the knowledge. But being in these like safe spaces with like non-binary and female producers, like we were all just sharing knowledge and uplifting each other, and just a really creative space to like try stuff. Yeah. Me being like, what does this knob do? And you know, getting an answer and not feeling afraid to ask. And you know, since then with Ebony, like I did a sync camp for Fox, and we were making a bunch of songs throughout the week that we were able to like sell right away to Fox and then get placed in TV shows. And she also has brought in artists into the camps where we're getting thrown into these situations where we're just producing for these artists that she's bringing in, and it's really uplifted my career as a producer, and it's been really cool. I would definitely say like finding some kind of like organization or community is like so helpful as a woman in music, and even, you know, going to networking events and being able to connect with other women, even just all of us talking before you all got here, it's just been so inspiring. And then the second person is a collaborator of mine, Dominic Florio. He's an amazing producer in New York, and he was, we were writing a lot together, I was working as a songwriter in New York before I started producing, and then working on my own artist project. And when COVID hit, I went home to Colorado and was still paying rent here, but I was like, I gotta get out of the city. And I could not sit still. I'm constantly doing things and working, but I was used to having to have a collaborator to really get like a record to a finished place. And I said, you know what, I have Ableton on my computer, let me see what I can do. And I just really dove into learning about production and trying to like make music by myself. And I have a good friend that I was working with, Dominic, and I just kept sending him my songs that I was producing and asking for notes and asking for feedback. And, you know, he was sending me, oh, try this, or this is a free compressor you can download, or, you know, and he was really helpful. And then when we got back to New York, he called me and said, hey, I'm putting a writing camp together. I'm gonna get a bunch of artists and writers and producers, and we're gonna rent a house. It was still like quarantine, we're all gonna get tested and you know, shack up in this house and make a bunch of records for the week. And he was inviting me, and he was like, yeah, I just really wanted like an all-around like writer, artist, producer to come into this camp. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like this person's good, this person, and he's like, no, I'm talking about you. And I was like, oh my gosh, he wanted me to come in, and you know, I had been showing my productions, my mom, who is the next person on my list, but you know, like, and sending them to my good friend who I just was really inspired by his production, and I just trusted him. And he was like, no, you. So I was thrown into this camp where we're writing songs every day, and I was having to drive the songs and produce the songs like right there that day, just based on him believing in me and all the songs I was sending him that I was just working on in my room on my laptop. So he really threw me into it. And it's like, it would have taken me a lot longer to say, like, I'm a producer and I can, like,
Yes.
work on
Yes.
an artist's music, you know? So that was cool. And then my mom, my mom is the best. She was, you know, a single mom for a lot of my life, and, you know, it was rough growing up. You know, my dad was in and out of rehab, and we won't get into that, but it's a part of the journey because she was so strong. And she was always playing in bands. She was playing in bands when I was in her belly. And we always had instruments around, and I felt like with music it was never a question of if. It was just like I would go to someone's house and would be like, oh, where are the instruments? You know, like I thought it was just a normal thing. So yeah, just like having music around me all the time, and her supporting me, you know, just wanting to take it all the way and never saying no.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, you led us really beautifully into this idea that I think sometimes it's really hard for some of us to call ourselves a thing until someone like takes a magic wand and, you know, like knights us, like, you're a producer, you're a songwriter, you're an artist. And I know that sometimes we struggle with this idea that, you know, you have to have achieved a certain level of whatever crazy is in your head in order to claim it. And sometimes it'd be really hard to claim, and I know I share your same sentiment because COVID is one of those things that led me into production more. And I had a new manager, and it was COVID, and all the sessions shut down because everybody was like scared. And I was like, this is a perfect moment for the B team, me, to like get in there, because all the A team was like, I don't do Zoom. I'm gonna just wait until like everything goes back to normal because I'm not gonna do Zoom. And then there was this whole group of people that were like, you know, we gotta keep it moving. Like, I'll Zoom, and it really did open doors, and some of us, I know I at least got a lot better at production because I had to, because one of the people in the session was in Sweden, and one was in New York, and I was in LA, and like, okay, so that person's gonna build the drums, and I'm gonna cut the vocals and tune them and comp them, and then this person's gonna, you know, we were all like figuring it out. I'm curious what has been your experience with being able to claim the titles or roles that your heart desires. Like, it sounds like for you, for a long time, you thought, oh, it's Broadway. Maybe I'm not like a recording artist. Or maybe it's not. Maybe it's something else for you, like the songwriter. Or tell me, what are those titles that you had a hard time claiming, and then how you overcame the nonsense in your head?
I always say that we live with this, I live under a shadow of what I thought I would be, like the expectation of who I thought I would be or what success means, and that just, I'm in the shadow of it, and I hate that. It's my own doing, you know, or maybe we all have that. I'm gonna bring up Mr. Gordy once again because he said one of my favorite things to me, which was when I was doubting myself or trying to get a record deal or whatever, he said, you know, a star is a star during the day when no one can see it. It doesn't just become a star at night. And he's like, you're a star, I see it. Just because somebody else doesn't see it right this minute doesn't mean that that's not your calling, that that's not your purpose. And I think for me, to the specific question is, I do a lot of different things, and that was always a detriment in the beginning. Even when I got signed, or even when I was trying to go out for Broadway shows, or anything I did, the fact that I sang classically and I had all these different voices, or I had some different skills, or I sang lots of different kinds of, I think that's one of my superpowers, is that I can sing lots of styles authentically well. And people used to say, oh, I don't know where to put you. I mean, every label turned me down because, oh, I don't know what to do with you. What are you? And that was, I think, for so many years, the fact that I could do a lot of things well was a detriment because everybody wanted me to do one thing perfectly. And I don't do one thing perfectly, you know? And now that I'm older, I think that it's my superpower. I think people see it as a superpower. I think it's like celebrated now. And it took so long, I had to wait, I had to wait, I had to not give up, I had to know deep down that was my superpower. I never ever yielded to what other people wanted me to be. And it was possibly to my detriment at the label because we did not get along, It was a very, very hard situation to be there, and they wanted me to be they really wanted me to compromise who I was to stay there. And I feel rewarded by the fact that I can authentically live who I am now and sing the music I'm supposed to sing. And people now, I feel rewarded for just being me finally. So I think that, saying, I do a lot of things well was something I had to, rather than one thing perfectly, right? And just being the one thing, and just saying, I do lots of different kinds of music. I'm so lucky to do that, so I think accepting that has been my biggest challenge.
Same.
Wow, what's the thing? Can you say the question one more time for me?
What is a title or a role that you had to work really hard in your life to claim? So for me, it's producer. And I know men that do as much producing as me, and they're like, I'm the best producer you ever, And I'm over here like, I produce, kind of like, I don't know. Do you think it's okay? I don't know. And why? Why is that hard?
I think it's something we do as women. It's something we learn at an early age.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but we do that. Guys will be like, the dude made one beat. Yo, I'm a platinum producer here, right? And you're like, no, you're not, bro. Like, what's funny? It's so funny because every title I add to every multi-hyphenate I add, it takes me a second to realize it. The first one was bass player. And that's how the whole world knows me, is as a bass player. But like I said, I was a rapper who picked up the bass so that I could perform with my bass guitar, perform my raps. And I started spitting rhymes with the bass guitar. And nobody had seen anybody do that before. So for me, I was always just an artist. I went on tour with Victor, and Victor allowed me to be an artist. I would come out and play bass with him, but I was not his bass player.
Right.
When I got the gig with Beyonce, I remember going back to my hotel room and saying, oh shit, this is what a bass player does. It was different. All I had to do was play the bass, and but I had to play it at a certain level.
Yeah.
And the women I was in the band with, they had all been playing for years. They'd been playing since they were kids. I picked up the bass at 20. And now here I am. I'm 30 years old and I'm on tour with Beyonce. Oh shit, this is what a bass player is. And it took me being on that tour. I would take my bass home after rehearsal. We would rehearse 8 hours a day. I would take that bass back home, get in the bed after dinner with the bass, and go over every single thing we did in rehearsal that day. I would put myself to sleep. I was sleeping with my instrument because I just had so much work to do. It was hard to memorize songs. I didn't grow up memorizing songs on the bass. That's a skill, right? We had to memorize a 2-hour show. That was crazy. So it took me a long time before I could say, oh, I'm a bass player. And to sit in that title, and then she gave me the bass solo, right? And so now I'm licking the bass on the tour, and and I'm doing the moonwalk with the bass, and on the DVD, and all those things. And it really took me a while to realize that. Producer, I was producing, I was like an artist, and I was making my own beats and stuff. I had called myself a producer, but bass player? That's crazy. But yeah, now, I'm all of those things. And I think as we get older, we are okay with sitting in that.
Yeah.
Yes, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I think things like this help younger women realize, step into that thing, claim it. Because claiming it, just claiming it is powerful. just saying I do this is so powerful, and it pushes you into the space where you are doing it. Your reality starts to look like that every single day. You're doing that thing, you know.
What about you, Mia?
Oh, I'm so inspired. I don't know if I can say anything, but I do have things to say, I think. Yeah, I mean, I talked a lot about being a producer and coming into that power, and it's not something I ever thought I could do. I mean, I went to music school and didn't pursue a production major. Oh, I majored in music business and songwriting, double major. I think it's really important to know about the music business. Like, read Passman's book, the newest edition, please, because it's always, the music industry is always changing. But, you know, even if you're not taking a business class, like, knowing about the music business is so important. But that was not the question, sorry. Yeah, I mean, the producer thing, absolutely. But I kind of wanted to touch on what you were saying, because I actually think this is kind of rare. I don't know that I've been on a panel with so many multi-hyphenate women. And I think claiming that is really, really cool, because I'm also self-managed, and I've had so many conversations in the past 5 years with different managers where I'm like, hey, can you help me with, you know, sessions and getting artists in my studio? Can you help me with rollout for my artist project? Can you help me with landing syncs? They're like, I can help you with one of those things, you know? And people that work, it's either people that are working on the master side, artist side, or on the publishing side, sessions, and I haven't really been able to find someone. And every time that I have conversations with music industry people, they're like, well, you gotta choose a path. And, you know, yes, I will be real about the fact that it is hard to find a balance. And I was talking to all of you guys about this earlier, like, talking about being a producer. I haven't released a song since 2024. I don't know that I'll release a song in 2025 because I'm working on other people's records right now. But, you know, maybe next year I'll take some time and make a record of my own. And I'm always going to be an artist. I'm always going to be writing songs. I'm always going to be producing. So whatever kind of way I'm doing it, it just kind of shifts and changes. But, you know, I would say never be afraid to do a lot of things. And I also think to be in music full time, and if you're not, like, you know, a star, I mean, we're all stars, but you know what I'm saying. You got to do a lot of stuff, especially in New York. And that's another thing we talked about. It's like, it's a gig city. It's like, I'm going over here, I'm teaching this lesson, I'm going to this studio, I'm having this session, I'm getting this call, staying up all night because the deadline is tomorrow, and we're doing it all. And I think, yeah, don't be afraid to have your eggs in a lot of baskets. I think that's way more exciting. And interesting and fun, and then if one thing falls through, you have a bunch of other things. And, you know, there's so much you can do in music. And I would say, yeah, I've had a lot of, maybe it is changing, and hopefully it's starting to. I mean, seeing all of us here, it feels that way. But I've been told so many times by Suits that I have to choose one, and I'm not doing that. So you don't have to either.
No. I love it. Okay, so let's get into, like, the practicality of songwriting for a second. Like, sometimes people will ask me, like, what does it actually look like? Is it like people in a room with guitars, or is it like, you know, what does it look like? For me, in a session, I usually have a Google Doc open because I like to be the secretary of the. Yeah, I'm like, I write everyone's name at the top, so later I'm like, who did I write that song with? I have it. And then I share the Google Doc with everyone. And then either I'm starting at keys, or if somebody else, like a guitar player or another person in there, plays an instrument, or somebody comes in with like a lick or a melody idea, and we start, oh, that's cool. What kind of mood are you guys in? Are you... Somebody's like, either someone is like, just got dumped on the way in, and then we're all like, we're jumping, that's it. Like, we love that. We live for you getting dumped right before the session. Just, this is like, the odds are ever in our favor. Or, you know, somebody's just got a cool idea or a cool concept, and we kind of go from there. And then from that point, we kind of like feel it out. Like if I'm on the computer, then I'm like, recording it, or if somebody else is like, no, I'll cut the track, you play keys, and then we kind of go from there. And the whole time we're like, okay, so if our concept is whatever, cards, then like, oh, what if there's a line about the Queen of Hearts or whatever, whatever. And everybody's throwing out these ideas. And for me, the workflow, so I got Google Doc, and then I use Master Writer, which is like my other favorite app, which you have to pay for, but it's really useful. And basically Master Writer has rhyming dictionary, thesaurus. You can also write the lyrics in there like a Google Doc. But then it also has like far rhymes. So sometimes it'll give you like names of people in pop culture or things that a dictionary is not giving you, And then, some people like the rhyming app. And then some people have ChatGPT open. They're like, what's a 4-letter word for whatever? So what I want to hear, like, give me like a quick, let's keep this one short because there's more pressing, but just like tactically, what are you using to write a song? Or maybe you're just like, it's me and the guitar and that's it.
I write most of my songs with my husband. We've been writing together for 13 years, so I'm usually just either me and my husband or me and one other writer who plays an instrument. It's like just like a journal and a notes app. I'm super old school, simple. I tried going to sessions that like top lining and things like that. It doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for me writing for other people. Like, I'm selfish. I just want to write for myself. And so I just write songs that I want to sing. And now, since I release a record every year, now it's like, I need a new opener, I need a new closer, I need a new 11 o'clock number, I need a new sad song, I need a new happy song. So I kind of go with those moods, and then that takes us on a journey to the song. And I'm usually writing with people I've written with a decade plus, so it's very, very well-oiled machine kind of thing. But with a new writer, you kind of have to do that first date thing, where you're getting to know them. But essentially, somebody on the keys or somebody on the guitar, and we go super old school.
Wow. So it really depends for me. It depends on if I'm writing with other people, what I'm writing for, what we're doing. So I've been in sessions with that, the formula or just that setup that you talked about. But I guess I'll just talk about what it's like if I'm writing for myself. Yeah. First, I set up some kind of intention, right? Like I have to have an intention. Why? What am I writing? I pull up. Let's say I'm making a record. The first thing I do, I went to Berkeley online, is I create a project scope, right? So I create this whole title of this album. What is this album gonna be like? What do I want it to feel like? And then I'll say how many songs are gonna be on it, how much money I wanna spend on it, blah, blah, blah. I sit down and I do that. And then, so I say, okay, so for instance, I'm gonna talk about this, later on I'm gonna demonstrate this process. So I have an album, my last album was called Worldwide Playdate. So I have this concept, Worldwide Playdate. I want it to feel like the 90s. I want it to, so everywhere I go, this is in my body, it's in my mind, it's in my spirit. So I got my phone, I'm on the subway, I'm kicking it, something crazy happens, and I start singing some crazy melody and some dumb line in the phone. Oh yeah, I wake up in the morning, I'm a force to be reckoned with. Oh yeah, oh my God, I'm a force, yeah. Oh my God, that's the greatest thing in the world. And I'm always hype about it, right? So always jumping up and down. Always think it's the greatest concept in the world, greatest melody in the world. It's just the greatest thing ever. And sometimes, so now I have this intention. So I'll sit in front of some DAW, maybe I pull up Logic, I'll plug my bass in, and I'll just start playing the bass line. Oh, that's funky. Ooh, that's funky, that's funky, that's funky. I'm a loop it, and I'm dancing, and they'll say, ooh, I need some drums. And I play them drums, then I'm like, ooh, that is fly. Then I dance around, I jump up and down. I'm like, this song is about to be a hit record. And I do that, and then I was like, ooh, okay, let me plug up the microphone. And I plug up the mic, and I go, ticka, ticka, ah, ticka, boom, ticka, ba. Something, I got a rhyme, and then I'll make up some crazy nothingness, and then I'll listen to that forever and just talk about how hype it is, and then I'll start putting words to it, right? And then I'll start sharing it. If I want to bring a writer in or bring any collaborator, a producer or something, I'll send them that sketch of that thing that I think is the greatest thing in the world, and then we'll start to, break it down and go from there.
I mean, I want to do that.
That was fun. I keep going after you, and then I'm like, all right, so I don't know if I'm gonna
Next
go
one, you're first, Mia. You're first.
And then I'm like, ooh, Yeah, for me, I'm constantly inspired. I get pretty inspired when I'm like running around the city, because I teach in-home private lessons. So in the afternoons on the weekdays, I'll spend like the first part of the day in the studio, and then the afternoons I'm on the subway and I'm like running around from neighborhood to neighborhood and lesson to lesson, and that's when I get really inspired, at least for my stuff. And that's when I'm actually like processing my thoughts, because like otherwise I'm zoned in on something, and I think like that's when my mind can really wander, and I'm getting like downloads of like information where I'm like, okay, like, you know, poetry, words, or like, so I'm constantly on my notes app, just like writing down words, and it's not even necessarily like these are the lyrics, it's like just things I want to process, because all my songs are about just my life and my relationships and my experiences. So whatever I'm processing, like, it's like a diary. It's like sometimes I feel like I can't even process something until I write a song about it, like, because I need to like take it all the way there. That's the thing too. If I'm writing a song about like one little like fight I had with my best friend or something, like the friendship is over, we hate each other, like I have to go there to like process it. So yeah, a lot of the time like I'm in my notes app, and then this, you know, by the time I get into the studio with it, I'm looking at the notes app, I'm you know, messing around with some synth sounds or a tempo or some drums, and then I'm kind of experimenting with melodies. I'm a big melody girl. Like the melodies are coming in right away as soon as I get a progression going, and then I'm kind of fitting the lyrics in. Like I have like pages of things I want to say and words I want to say, maybe even rhymes, maybe even like stanzas, but then I'm kind of like fitting them into the melody that I'm liking. And for me, like, I was in a session the other day, co-writing with someone who actually, she spoke Dutch and her English wasn't great. So it was interesting because she was writing, she was more of a poet lyricist, and I was like, okay, great. And I'm coming up with all these melodies and then trying to fit her words into them. And she knew my melodies that I was singing, and you know, she was trying to write some words into them. But then it's all about like the stressing of the words. That's something I think about a lot. Like what I just said, the stressing of the words is not stressing of the word, right? Like, so then I was getting these lyrics from her where I was like, that totally fits, but the ing is getting stressed rather than the stress of the word.
Yes, yes.
So that's something that's really important to me, and I will look for any word I can find to make it feel right, like in the mouth.
Yes.
To make it singable, because if it's not singable, it doesn't work. It's like Katy Perry, unconditionally. That's weird. I don't know. Anytime I'm like, what are you doing? I don't know. But yeah, I think like words really matter to me, but singability is so important, especially for a good pop song.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, as we're nearing the end here, I want to know if there's any organizations, like shout out, what organizations do you know that support women, music prominent? I'll say one that has been really instrumental for me is She Rocks LA, or I'm sorry, Rock Camp LA. I'm saying She Rocks. Rock Camp LA, which is an organization that teaches acceptance through music education, and it's all women or people who identify as women are the counselors, and all the campers are the same. And what I love about it is that you are getting all these girls come in and they take an instrument class, so that it's a week-long camp, and they get to pick an instrument. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was 10, I just didn't know any female bass players. I didn't know any female drummers. They didn't exist. I didn't see them. I'm sure that they existed, but I wasn't seeing them. And so what's so cool about this program is that you know, all these women are here modeling it, and all these kids are like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna be a drummer. And it's like an 8-year-old, and they take their drum lesson, and then they all go do songwriting class. And then there's usually like some fun workshop like self-defense or, you know, social media literacy, where we teach them like, hey, the internet is forever, so you should know that. Even though you're 8, like, you should know, you gotta be careful. And then there was like a stage presence class, and we had someone come in and teach them how to like strut and, you know, like just take up all the space. And so I think organizations like that, had they been around when I was coming up, I think that would have been crucial. And so I want to hear you guys shout out, like, if there's any organizations that are empowering to youth and women, or ones that you've spoken at, or things that you've attended. Miette, go first.
Well, Gender Amplified is
Yes.
amazing. We Make Noise, ran by Erin Barra, who actually taught me Ableton. I took one Ableton class at Berkeley, and it was taught by Erin Barra, and she's all about uplifting women in music. We Make Noise, Beats by Girls. Yeah. What's Alicia's organization?
She is the music.
She is music. I've done a few She is the Music camps.
I mean, obviously
Music is
the
great.
women who put on this event.
Yes, absolutely.
There's another one. We Are Moving the Needle is an amazing one. Yeah.
There's one called Maestra, more for like instrumentalists and conductors and composers, female Maestra. And there's a Maestra competition. It's not related, but 2 Maestra organizations for women in the instrumental space. Yeah.
There's Ramped for the musicians with disabilities. It's an incredible organization run by Lachi. I like to always shout out the Recording Academy, because honestly, if you are a professional musician, artist, composer, whatever, when you get in the room with a bunch of Recording Academy members, man, you can really create some great collaborations, because everybody in that room at that event is doing something in the music industry. And when we think about the Recording Academy, a lot of times we think about the Grammys, right? But you know, there's an LA chapter, there's a New York chapter, there are chapters all around the country, and they are always doing events. The New York chapter is always doing events or fireside chats or things like that. And when you find yourself in those rooms, man, you are with the people who are doing it every single day, who are professional, who are serious about it. And if you just start meeting people and talking to them, you never know what type of collaborations can happen.
Also, because the Recording Academy has their advocacy wing,
Yes.
which is so cool, and I've been a part of their advocacy day, where you if you're in the Recording Academy, you volunteer yourself for a day, and basically you go and meet with members of the Senate, members of your local congressional, you know, you meet with all these politicians, and you talk to them about all the things that are affecting musicians. So I learned a lot about like the No Fakes Act, or you know, the music collectives, and all the things that are going to get you paid, and the laws that are changing on a regular basis that you can, you know, basically lobby on behalf of musicians. It's really cool.
That day really changed my perspective on the Recording Academy. The first time I participated in Music Advocacy Day, I was like, you guys are really, we're sitting with our congressperson, our representative right now in this room, and we're able to tell them what our lives look like and what we need for them to go out and fight for. Because we're paying taxes.
Yes.
And we live in your district. Go fight for us.
All right. Are we going to go to questions, Laura?
Yes, we are.
Let's do it. Okay, we're going to take a couple questions from the audience if anybody has. It can be to the group, or it can be just to one person, so feel free to raise your hand.
And I'm going to bring the mic over. So we got one right here.
So I am currently starting songwriting. This is actually my songwriting book that I started earlier this year. I've been having a hard time getting over the perfection of it all and just writing. So do you guys have any like ideas on how to get over that or just different like tasks that you give yourself to get yourself to write? Because I've been trying to write 5 minutes a day, just getting out words, but if there's anything else.
Yeah, the morning pages are great for sure, especially because you could be fresh off a dream. I feel like dreams are so like inspiring. It's like your subconscious is like speaking through to you. You can only remember it right after you wake up. I would also say like edit later. I'd say, you know, like just get it all out there, especially if you have a good melody. Like just get the words down. Like if you want to change them later, like don't edit as you go. That definitely slows the process down. And then you can just sit with something for a while, record it on voice memo, listen to it 100 times, like figure out how you want to change it, but not as you're going. And then one other thing that I do with a lot of my songwriting students is, because a lot of the time they can't think of a melody, so what I'll do is like, a lot of my my younger students, let's write a song to row your boat, like, you know, and let's write a song about your favorite animal, whatever. That's what I'll do with my young students. But it's like, what is one of your favorite melodies? Try fitting words into that, just for the exercise of it. Or, you know, what's one of your favorite poems? Try putting a melody to that poem and just kind of break down the process a little bit and try to get your brain to move differently.
Yeah, I would say that, and also just co-write your face off. I think co-writing is easily the most helpful tool, because you're stealing tricks from everyone and they're sharing them. And you're in there and you see, oh, I'm like not that good at this thing I thought I was good at when I was alone in a room by myself. And then when I got with this person, I was like, they are way better at that. Let me just like learn and learn all their tricks. And also scheduling time to co-write. Like, I know that my personal flakiness with myself is high. But if I make an appointment with Morgan to write, I will show up on time, I will be there, I will be present, I'll be prepared. So I personally schedule a lot of co-writes, because that's the kind of accountability I need. And it works.
I would say, I have a couple of suggestions. Journal. Do you journal? Every single day. Journaling is so important. One of the things that, it sounds silly, but sitting somewhere in New York City and making up stories about the people around you, like really making up stories. You see somebody sitting there having coffee or whatever and making some completely crazy story about how they ended up sitting there and just writing that down.